Well, hello and welcome. So today I have Pamela Corvelli, and she's in Arizona. And I noticed her a few months ago. She was on a Joshua Live call, going through a process and or a boot camp call. And I was thinking how articulate she was. So moving forward, recently we met at a retreat in North Carolina, and she was my roommate. And I was you know, I was amazed by her. She's an amazing person. And so I asked her to share her unique journey on the awakening path, and because all the paths we're on are unique and wonderful. And so namaskara.
Namaskara, that's right.
That's right. And Pam, when did you feel like you sort of began your spiritual journey?
So, I guess the easiest place to start is when I had my own rock bottom. And that was pretty much the end of July of 2021. So, July of 2021. My husband and I opened a business, a franchise business, in September of 2020. And it wasn't necessarily my idea, but being the supportive wife, hearing all the reasons as to why we should start this business, um, all the reasons why he was not happy in his corporate job at the time, and um, I really wasn't doing anything except being a stay-at-home mom. So why not start a franchise business? And so we actually started a home remodeling company in September. And it had always been my intention to take somewhat of a backseat, somewhat of a supporting role, to be able to, do the office work, do the paperwork, do payroll, do marketing, that type of thing to help grow and build and support the business, but at the same time be able to do my own thing. Because I was on a journey. It wasn't necessarily a journey at that, or a spiritual journey at that time, but I was still in the, what do I want to be when I grow up? And when he came to me with this idea of starting a franchise, a home remodeling company, I was like, okay, fine, but I still want the ability to do that. I want to be a mom. I want to continue on my journey. Well, we started the business, and it wasn't either one of our first businesses. He's done businesses himself. I've done businesses myself. So we came in it with a certain level of knowledge. But at the same time, every new business has its own nuances. It's areas of growth. It's areas of stretching you to your limits. And unfortunately, he had made a series of decisions that our team did not agree with, that our clients did not agree with. And literally within less than a year, that July, from September to July, we were about to close our doors. And I was very frustrated because I could see the path that we had gotten there, and literally hit rock bottom because I was now in a position of not only doing something that my heart wasn't into, but also realizing I was going to have to take everything over. And I was very much in the blame game of him, pointing my finger at him and saying, how dare you put us in this situation? We're literally bankrupt, or about to be bankrupt. And this is all your fault. And now I have to fix it. And this isn't fair. And I blame you. And so on and so on and so on. So that was a very dark time for me, a very much a time when I didn't like life. I didn't like anybody I was around. I didn't even like myself.
Mm-hmm.
So long story short, I did end up picking up the business, turning it around, doing what I had to do. And what I realized by the end of that year in November, December, what I was simply continuing down this road of being the person that everybody else needed to me to be. I was the mom. I was the wife. I was the business owner. I was the friend who needed, whatever. I was I was whatever anyone else needed me to be in order to make them comfortable and happy. And I had no idea who I was.
Mm.
Um, I remember very much a time where I was literally sobbing in the shower because I was like, I take care of everyone. No one takes care of me.
Ah,
And
well,
so,
that's and I mean, we get there as women sometimes,
yep.
but because we feel like we've got to carry the weight of the world with us. So, I mean that's beautiful, and
So
the
then,
darkness brought you to.
right. So then in January of 2022, I made the conscious decision that that was going to be the year of Pamela. And that's how I
Ah.
got there. And what I realized is that I had said that before, that I was going to concentrate on doing my thing, figuring out who I am, but I had never been able to do it. And what I realized is that I could not do it on my own. I needed someone to help me. That was the missing piece in all of this. So I actually was able to find a life coach who was able to take me those next steps. And through her, I did a lot of work on myself. And specifically, what was the tip off for my spiritual journey was that she had me go through a guided meditation. It was called the junkyard meditation. And basically, you go through, and it's a very cerebral process because you're blindfolded, you've got headphones on, you're pretending to pick up things, all of that. So your body and everything is in it. And so in this process, you go through, there's little piles of junk, and it's supposed to be like your shadow work basically.
Mhm.
And at the end of this, you find a treasure chest, and in that treasure chest is supposed to be your new heart. Now that you've gone through this process and what have you, you now can open up, and your heart is now whole and better than it was before, and you can move on. Well, I'm hearing the words that she's saying in my ears of what I'm supposed to be seeing in this treasure chest. Well, for me, I did not see a heart. I saw a crown. And it was the craziest thing because I'm like, why am I seeing a crown when there's supposed to be something else here? But intuitively, I knew to, in my mind's eye, pick up the crown and put it on. And as soon as I did that, it was like this amazing whoosh of energy that went straight from my head all the way to my toes. I was standing up, and all of a sudden, I found myself down on the ground and I was sobbing.
Oh.
So, whatever that was, I think opened the door to
Mhm.
start letting more in. And from that point in time, I knew that I wanted more of that. And so I started listening to more guided meditations. I started, being introduced to different concepts. I went, because I'm here in Arizona, I'm very close to Sedona. So I did a couple of things up in Sedona, and I started reading books about spirituality. And I knew I didn't want religion, but I knew that something was going on spiritually. And I found the book I Am, written by Aaron Worley, and I loved that book. And then I did some research on Aaron Worley, who was actually interviewed by Ashley Goner's podcast. And through Ashley Goner's podcast, I found Gary, who does the Joshua live stuff. And that's how I ended up with Joshua.
Oh,
So, yeah.
nice. So um so guided meditation is something that you do now. Now, is that your practice every day now, or just occasionally, or?
So, I do a little bit of guided meditation. Most of my meditation, though, has gone more into listening to frequency sounds, and
Okay.
trying to find that space in me, that void, basically, where I can be no body in no time and no
Oh,
thing, basically. It's a
uh-huh.
process. I haven't gotten there yet. And of course, I listen to the Joshua's meditations, which are somewhat guided. They're very affirmational.
Uh-huh.
So that's typically how I start my day, as I listen to those affirmational type meditations. And then typically I end my day with the frequency meditations. But yes, I try to lean more into meditations because I have definitely come to believe that going inside is the kicker in
It
all of
is.
this.
It is. And listening, and like you said, you followed your inspiration to put the crown on. For me, that's, like a metaphor of being a powerful woman, and, just taking back your power to be yourself. And like you said, going inside. Um, Yeah, Sedona's a wonderful place. I did wanna mention that. I was there in September, and it's got a really nice energy of the place. And so did you do anything special in Sedona that you feel like might be helpful to someone on the spiritual path?
Well, having I knew that I wanted to go to Sedona because of the what's the word I'm looking for? I guess the general idea of it. Like I had known that that was a place where a lot of spiritual practices were, a lot of modalities were, and the way that I had been raised my entire life was, ooh, psychics are just people who are going to try to steal your money, and all of this other stuff is woo woo and da 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 da. So I knew that I wanted to get out of Phoenix simply for I didn't know how to look for what I needed, but I something told me Sedona was going to be the most authentic place to find that, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So I just actually I did a Google search for spirituality services, and of course there's tons up there in Sedona, and I just happened to find one that even from the internet site, the website resonated with me, made me feel comfortable. And I had an intuitive reading with a woman who was able to connect in with the Akashic records. And then I also had a Reiki session and I had a sound bath.
Okay.
And all of those were amazing experiences. The information I received from my intuitive reading was one of those that really tipped me even more into doing a deep dive into all kinds of what I thought at the time was craziness. But I mean, Pleiadians and, auras and all of this. And
Uh-huh.
so, yeah, it
Yes.
was an amazing experience. And it's funny to look back on to see how everything connects to get you to
Uh-huh.
where you are now. But yeah.
Right. Yeah, go and that's it, kinda going back a year or 2, that's not very many years, um, but these are pivotal, like, the journey, it lights up for you, and you go where you need to go. And my experience in Sedona was, pretty interesting too, because I went to a retreat there, but I went to all the vortexes. But,
Mm,
the energy there is different, and there, of course, there are a lot of, spiritual people, um, crystals and things like that. So the earth has a different vibration in different places. And, I think when you start to open up, you start to feel more normal. And there's just something about when you go to spiritual places, it seems to just kind of reassure you, make you feel calm and collected. Um,
it's very
okay.
grounding.
It is very grounding, and all the red rocks, it's different color. The entire place is a different color than anywhere else. Phoenix, and I stayed in Phoenix, and I know that's where you live, but Phoenix has a different vibe than
Yes.
Sedona. And, um, I've been out west, but it's a really beautiful place. It just is. And the hiking and all that. There's a lot of nature there that's very beautiful. So I enjoyed it. I'll have to say that it was lovely. Okay. So you got introduced to things like, being a star seed, being a Palladian,
Hmm.
and some theorize that's what the angels are. So that's
I did
kind
not
of,
know that.
yes. Yes. So, okay, we'll move forward a little bit. So you feel like coaching is really helpful, and then also like opening up to new ideas and new things. And so you joined the boot camp at some point through.
So I actually, so my Sedona trip was July of last year. Like this has all happened very fast for me. And then I think I started the Gary's Ascension experience with the first course, which is the alignment in, I think it was either August or September. My first boot camp was November. And then Gary and Christy came out with what was it? The basic training. And I think I did that in January, if I remember correctly. And then, yes, I am currently ending my second boot camp right now. And so then so yeah, everything's still been less than a year. And it was amazing because I have to laugh. Um, when I heard Ashley, um, interview Gary on her podcast, I guess they've had a theme of law of attraction. And I've always been a seeker. And I've always been into personal development and, productivity and how can I be better and more efficient. That's been a theme throughout my entire life. But one of the things that I could never resonate with in that area was the law of attraction. I was like, I don't need anything. I don't need lots and lots of money. That's never resonated with me. So when Gary and Ashley on that podcast were talking about law of attraction, I'm like, oh, I don't need this. But then I remember Gary said something off of that topic. And obviously they were talking about channeling as well, which piqued my interest. And that's how I ended up going on to the Joshua Law Live podcast. And as soon as I did that, everything made sense. It literally clicked into place. And so that's how I was like, okay, I need more of this. And that's why I ended up joining the Ascension experience in the boot camp. And everything I've learned I talked to one of the other people in the group, and I was just like, it feels almost like coming home.
Right. Right. And, it's an experience, and that's just it. So the daily practices, do meditations, appreciation and gratitude, and it just
Intention.
seems to, yes, setting your intention and following your inspiration, pushing through fear, and the basis of everything is love or fear.
Mhm.
Well, so in this time frame, you've done all this work and you've let go of a lot of fears and you've moved forward, like feeling unsupported. Then then you came to the retreat. So in this year's time, looking back, like you went from the lowest low and now how do you feel?
Today, and I'll be honest with you, it's been a roller coaster ride since the retreat. Today I feel good. Um, it's amazing because I think as human beings, we are very hard on ourselves. We always feel as if we need to be at a certain point, at a different point than where we are. And I will be honest that I am learning to embrace where I am and enjoying that point in life. Um, so I think what you're getting at is the fact that I made somewhat of a quantum leap in
I think
the,
you did.
yes,
I mean, we briefly chatted before the call,
yeah,
and that was intuitively what I got was, oh, she's decided to go very fast.
yeah.
And the thing is, you're brilliant. Like, it's not just, it comes across, you're well educated, you're well rounded. You have a beautiful family, but oftentimes we can look back and see, oh, well, that was perfect at that time. That's what I needed to be strong and to move in a new direction. Um, so it's looking at challenges in a new way, and your mindset about the people in your life are here to support you,
Mhm.
and accepting them just as they are, and understanding that these things had to happen. So it's a whole new level of appreciation for life.
Yeah.
And, and that often that's what I see in people when they start the journey and they feel like they're not making enough progress fast enough, but you've chosen to go very fast. And
It's interesting that you say that because, I mean, obviously, based on the teachings of Joshua and a lot of the channelers, actually, we all have pre-birth intentions. And before the retreat, I would have never believed that one of my pre-birth intentions would be to make a quantum leap in some part of my life and be where I am right now. That just it did not seem me. I didn't think it was part of my personality. And honestly, before I went to the retreat, yes, I'd been doing a lot of Joshua stuff, the Ascension experience, the boot camp, the basic training, but I wasn't the best student. you know? But for whatever reason, it had always resonated with me, and I always felt like I was attempting to practice it, like I really got it. Um, but it's I don't know. I mean, even today, I don't know why I made a quantum leap, but it happened and I am grateful for it. And in many ways, I see it as a gift to be able to see what is possible, you know,
mm, mhm.
to be able to say, this is what you can achieve and continue on your path, and this is what you have waiting for you. Which I think has been an amazing gift. I've done a lot of journaling, excuse me, a lot of introspection, yeah, since the retreat. And what I've come to realize, because I know that I'm getting one-on-one coaching with Gary, and because for the 2 weeks after the retreat, I was on cloud nine. Everything was perfect. Everything was love. Everything
Uh-huh.
was amazing. And I have since felt like I have, and I don't want to say come down in perspective, because Gary has told me that's not possible, but I feel as if I've acclimated in many ways. And so what I've come to realize is that even though I've made a quantum leap, I've also still have those limiting beliefs. In many ways, a lot of my smaller limiting beliefs went poof. I have a certain foundation where I can't get angry anymore. I mean, I've noticed it, and there have been a couple times when my husband has tried, and I can't even get there. But
Mm.
then there are other limiting beliefs where I'm like, okay, this is still. I love Christy's analogy, and Christy and Gary work together, and her analogy of the hot air balloon and the sandbags that are all around the hot air balloon that are holding the hot air balloon down, and that you have to release either the sandbag as a whole or at least some of the sand in those sandbags in order to continue rising. And so I think in many ways, what happened to me was that I made this. If I was on level 2 and I jumped all the way up to level 6, that's great. And a lot of those sandbags fell in order for me to be there. But at the same time, I've still got sandbags. I'm still
Oh,
working
yeah.
on myself.
And
And
that's a great realization because, even though I think what happens is our perspective rises, we acclimate to that, but we're still in the 3D and things are still happening. And, but we begin to kind of burst through the illusion, and then the hot air balloon rises. So
Mhm.
you can do it again, but,
Yep.
and you'll find something new probably to do that, but it's a choice, so you seem very light and happy now. And, and I wasn't coaching you, so I don't know, but I do know what I was like when I first joined the boot camp. And I was just emotional about a lot of things and not accepting a lot of things and people.
Mhm.
And as progressed through the boot camps, and I did some of the ascension work too, what I noticed was I seemed to like let go of little beliefs along the way. Or maybe if you want to use the hot air balloon, the sandbags holding me down. And I would let go of things, and, something new would come to take its place. Or,
Mhm.
it was that identity of who I was. And I'll go back in time, because you're younger than me. I remember, I think it was in 2008, all my kids moved out and I got a divorce.
Mm.
So that was kind of my low time. And I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. I was like, what am I going to do? And I'd always been into self help and all that too. And when I found Gary, I was looking for a coach. I was like, I must need a coach, you know. And he did some coaching with me, but um, whatever you need usually is going to show up. And what I needed to do was shift some of my beliefs and let go of
Mhm.
them. And it was a very powerful time, when I started trying new things and going new places and meeting new people and making new friends. And, you know, one of my biggest intentions was to make new friends. And so y- I try to stay connected with the people that I meet. And usually you resonate with 4 or 5 of the people that are at a
Mhm.
gathering like that. And there were 21 of us, I don't know, something like that. But, we had fun. Um, some of those messages were really powerful.
Are you
I
talking
had
about the
studied.
retreat? Are you talking about the
Mhm,
retreat we just went on?
mhm.
Yes,
Yeah, so
yes.
what did you get out of the retreat? Not just, each class was a little different. And
So this was my first retreat, so I didn't really have to compare it to anything, and it was so far out of my comfort zone. I'll go ahead and tell you that. But when I got the invitation to go to the retreat, there was no question that I was going to it. It was yes, this is what I'm doing. And the funny thing about it was that after I said yes, there were a couple things that happened that should have kept me back. Like our business, the home remodeling business, had a home show that weekend that we have a booth at, and that we needed to staff and what have you. My son had he is on a competition soccer team, and his tryouts were that weekend, or that week actually. And so there were all these things that should have kept me here, should have said, no, I'll do the next one or what have you. But I had already knew that this is where I needed to go. And I was like, you know what? All of this stuff is going to happen without me, regardless of whether I'm here or not. So just let it be. And so once I got over that to say I'm going, then there was the fear of, holy crap, I have no idea who any of these people are. I've seen their faces on Zoom, but and I'm
Oh,
naturally an introvert. People are very surprised to know that, but I'm an introvert. I like my nice, quiet, what have you, but I was like, you know what? Again, falling into simply allowing what is going to happen to happen. I was like, we're going to do this. And it was amazing walking into the Joshua house. Just everybody clicked with everybody from the beginning.
uh-huh.
We instantly fell into these conversations that just felt comfortable and just flowed easily and effortlessly. And it was so amazing. And then to be able to see Gary and Christy and Crystal as real people,
Mhm.
because you kind of get this idea in your mind about who they are and, what they do and what have you. And it was funny because I had heard from someone that Gary was super tall, and I am 5 foot even. And apparently Gary is like six something. So it's like, holy crap. He is freaking
Mhm.
tall. But then hysterically funny all at the same time. So it was so good to get to know everybody in person instead of the personalities they were on Zoom, which
Right.
I think really helped with that connection. And there were so many magical, unimaginable things that happened that weekend. I mean, the channeling, the messages that came through, um, the spirit guide that we all have that connects us, our words that applied specifically to us. And then, yeah, Sunday night was the last night of the retreat, was when I had my quantum leap. And I think I was talking to Jessica, who's also works with Gary with all the Joshua stuff, because believe it or not, so that night, Sunday night at the retreat, I actually channeled. I
Right.
channeled not only my higher self, my inner self, but something else. And we have an indication of who it was, but since then I have not channeled that being at all. And so there's been a level of frustration from there. Am I
Oh,
still
yeah.
connected? Was that a fluke? Did I make it up in my head? All of that. Um, but I've had to let all that go in the fact that I have definitely been more connected with my inner self. And what I've gotten from my inner self is that this is part of my journey, that my journey this point forward will lead me down the road of being a teacher, of being a leader, of being a speaker. But as part of getting to there, will also be the ability to sit down with someone and say, I know exactly how you feel. I know exactly what you're going through
Mhm.
because I've been there.
Yeah.
And to be able to speak from that experience and really make that connection in working with them or being that example, to say, this is possible. And I am an example of what is possible. You should be able to step into that as well.
That's
So,
right. Well, I will tell you that I know, I've been through I don't know how many retreats, not just Scaries, but others as well. And I know the first time I did breath work, I got a vision of an angelic being. And then when I did ayahuasca, Metatron came through for me. But that was the only time that Metatron came through. So, you know, uh, since then, I think I've discovered that, like through the Kabbalah and some of the magical practices I have, you invoke these angels, but there's a specific job that each angel does. So this angel, um, you know, for me, what Metatron did was he upgraded my DNA. That was the message I got. So it was not that he was going to be with me forever. It was that he was helping me to get to the next step. So,
mm,
if you can think of it that way, and on the tree of Kabbalah, there are angels that begin at Kether, which is at the feet, and then they move up, and there are 10 plus the Da'af. So he's at the top. So you have top down and bottom up. So there's it begins the flow of energy through you. So they open up channels that were not open before. So so kind of let go of your ideas about this and say, well, maybe he's here just for this purpose, and this
Mhm.
purpose, may lead to something else. Because I've had several different angels, and that was always kind of confusing for me. Like, um, Ma'at was the first one, and she is Egyptian. And then Metatron was the second one. And let's see, I think it was last fall, it was Israel.
Mm.
And then it was very recently Raziel. So I'm saying I get these images, and well, Raziel was there with Merlin. So I will say, you know, visions are angels coming in, and they're like here to help us with specific tasks, but
Mhm.
they're not always with us. So you can invoke them and ask them for more information. But some archangels are not here to, guide us and lead us or
Right.
channel through us. But anyway, that's my understanding of it. So that, I don't know if that'll help, but so even EKJ, which is, one that is for spiritual leaders and teachers. So invoking an angel might be as simple as, you know, just saying their name. I'm asking you for help. Um, and then waiting and see if you get a message. So,
Mm.
you don't have to do long. Now you can create a ceremony that'll be helpful. But these are spirits that are actually within us. You're actually activating something within you. So
Right.
the that's how I had to understand it, because I remember the first time when one came through, and she didn't come through again for a long time. And I thought, when is this ever going to happen again?
Yes,
Because
yes.
it's really beautiful. And, now it happens more often, but I had to have practices that brought that energy to me, but we can activate the energy of source, which is the highest source.
Mhm.
So it's not necessarily what we think it is. And it is available. And, but it's really yeah, I remember you channeling, and I asked a couple of questions, and I was thinking, "Oh my goodness, Metatron, wow,"
I
but
even remember that. That's a crazy thing. Gary has told me that that apparently he was asking my inner self questions and Christy was asking Metatron questions. I don't remember any conversation with Christy at all.
you don't. That's
I can remember the interaction with Gary. I cannot remember the interaction with Christy at all. And apparently it was going on at the same time. Not a clue. So
okay. Yeah.
crazy.
Well, I mean, the entire retreat was a great experience. I liked the white light channeling. Her messages seemed to really resonate with me. And it's probably because I knew Christy before she started channeling, and she was
Mhm.
like you, but she started and it just came through, and it just got, you know, the idea of channeling for me, I don't know. I like channels. I've always listened to them, but at the same time, we're all capable of that.
And I'm glad you said that because when I came back from the retreat, I fluctuated between, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to me. This is so cool, to the, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to me. My life is about to flip upside down. So I've really had to embrace the fact that yes, we are all channels.
Yes,
E- when we type a letter or an email, we are channeling
that's right.
words into messages. When we hug someone, we are channeling love from source in order to have that person feel good by our simple hug. And yes, of course, channeling through art and music, and all these other artistic avenues, but we are all channels. And so I've had to really, really embrace that. And You're right. What you just said also in regards to having these ideals and expectations, I'm working on releasing that and saying, you know what? I'm on this journey. This journey is perfect as it is. I am exactly where I need to be. And it is okay to let go of what I think everything should look like. So, it's amazing because I was talking to Jessica, I forgot to finish that, but I was talking to Jessica about my experience at the retreat and having frustration about not being able to channel. And she said, when you were at the retreat, you literally had let go. You were having so much fun. You felt so much love that you just let it happen. She said, all
That's
you need
right.
to do is just get back there, just have fun and just let go, which is crazy because my word at the retreat is surrender. So,
Surrender. And mine was light, like I flow light.
mhm,
And um yeah, and that was, I know that was one of my messages a few months ago was, to love 10% more. And I'm like, very loving person. Not always though. I have a temper, and I do, I'm a so we move in and out of this 3D into 4D
mhm,
and 5D. And when you get in a 5D environment, and I was talking to a girlfriend on Tuesday about being in Glastonbury, and that was I felt like that was a 5D community, and we're surrounded at, like, the Joshua retreat with
mhm.
people that are 4 and 5D. They're they have very little they have limiting beliefs, but they're pushing through them.
Yeah,
And, and I think so it's, pushing through the illusions and allowing people to just be who they are, and it's such a freedom way to live. And I've been in places like that. And I'll say, I think I sort of get that feeling in Key West. I get it in Glastonbury. Sedona's pretty much there. It's pretty open. You can be whoever you want to be there. It
mhm,
doesn't matter. There are lots of places on the planet like that, and you can create that in your own environment.
exactly.
So, it's taking down the illusion of who you think you have to be all the time, and
Yep.
just relaxing into life. And that's what surrender is about. But I saw you surrender, and that was really powerful. And you were struggling against what was happening, and that was it. And it was
Yes.
like, oh, you know, and there was a message I got, and it wasn't that long ago. Well, do you want to choose the easy path or the hard path? And I'm like, well, the easy path. Like, why not? Like, why would you choose the hard path?
Right, right.
So if if you look at it in the lens of love, that's the easy path. In the
Yeah,
ends of fear, oh, I'm afraid of this, and
yeah.
you're afraid to live a new way, but you can live a life of joy and ease when you learn to surrender, and that is a practice. And
Hmm.
I can tell you in Sedona, I went to the Buddhist park and I walked around the park, but there was a man there telling the story. Um, this woman went there and she was a Buddhist and or a monk, and she bought land with the highest vibration in the planet. So you're really close to it. So they lay down all their weapons and all their suffering. So you walk around this temple 3 times and you release all your suffering. So
Oh,
the need to suffer, and I really felt the power of that. It's one of the vortexes.
okay.
And just so you know, there are simple practices like walking in a circle and just saying, I just release my suffering. She did it. She bought this beautiful place in Sedona, and just read about the story and
That's cool.
understand it. That's what um many light workers are here to do, is just
Yeah.
help people ease up on their suffering.
Well,
And
getting back to that daily spiritual practice and setting the daily intention, that's actually has become my major intention. Every day, I'm like, today I intend to practice surrender,
that's
surrendering.
great.
So yeah, I mean, if I feel as if again, being intentional and just reminding myself every day that it'll build momentum and go from there. So,
It does. It really does. And you don't think these small little things that we do each day make a huge difference. But being, being lighter, being happier. I mean, that's really the goal of life, is to be happy.
yeah.
And we perhaps we learned that the goal of life was to suffer. And now we just need to set an intention to release that every
Hmm.
day. And it'll get easier and easier. And, my intention is to follow my magical path now and be surprised and delighted. That's it.
Yes.
And it is,
Yes.
I don't do it every day, but I'm saying that's kind of my intention now. I think I release suffering, and I see you doing it, and it's a beautiful thing. So I really appreciate you taking your time today and sharing your story.
Well, I just feel so blessed that I was given the opportunity to have an amazing roommate at the retreat.
Me too.
So I can definitely see it's interesting because you said that your word at the retreat was light. Yes, you were so full of light and love. So I'm just happy you're now my friend.
That's great. Well, I'm happy too, and big hugs out to you, and keep up the surrender, and eventually you'll have a new intention and it'll be so great.
There you go. There you go. I think it's just a process. I think as we continue accepting who we are, there's always going to be more and more surrender to. It's funny because you were talking about the magic just now. One of my other intentions for the day is allowing the universe to surprise and delight me. And
Oh
so
yeah.
I think it's that continuing to surrender to allowing that.
Yeah.
Knowing that you're not in control, you don't have to be in control, and that everything is going to work out for your benefit, even if you can't see it. So,
That's right. That's right.
well, thank you for having me
Okay.
on.
All right. Well, we'll go, and you're an amazing person, and namaskara.
Namaskara.
Mm.